Modern agriculture is a precisely engineered financial trap designed to ensure you never actually own your soil. Every spring, millions of people walk into garden centers and willingly purchase bags of brightly colored synthetic chemicals, believing they are nurturing their plants. In reality, they are paying a subscription fee to rent temporary fertility from multi-billion-dollar conglomerates. These synthetic fertilizers act like an addictive artificial stimulant for the dirt. They provide an artificial, hyper-concentrated spike of immediate nutrients that forces rapid plant growth, but simultaneously eradicates the microscopic biological web that makes soil naturally fertile. Once that natural ecosystem is dead, the dirt becomes nothing more than a sterile structural support system, completely dependent on the next dose of synthetic chemicals just to keep plants alive. This is not an accident of modern science, but a deliberate business model centered on manufactured complexity and recurring revenue. If you have spent a fortune trying to keep a dying garden or a failing crop alive year after year, drop the word exhausted in the comments. We want to know exactly how many people are currently dealing with this exact problem. The industry relies on your silence and your frustration to keep their margins growing. The global synthetic fertilizer market generates revenue exceeding $200 billion annually. They spend billions in marketing to convince you that growing food or maintaining land requires a degree in chemistry and a perpetual budget. But historical and agronomic archives reveal a completely different reality. There is a dirt-cheap, highly stable organic carbon compound that can be produced for under $2, which physically alters the molecular structure of any soil, making it permanently hyperfertile. It does not require annual reapplication, and it does not wash away in the rain. Once it is in the ground, it works for centuries. They did not abandon this method because it failed. They buried it because it permanently eliminates the need for their synthetic products. Declassified science, historical proof, and exact methodology reveal what the agricultural giants prayed you would never discover. They buried the science, so we dig it up. To understand the magnitude of this deception, we have to look away from modern chemical laboratories and turn to one of the most hostile agricultural environments on the planet. The Amazon basin is famous for its lush rainforests, but beneath that green canopy lies some of the most acidic, nutrient-poor, and toxic soil on Earth. The heavy tropical rains constantly wash away soluble minerals, leaving behind a sterile, yellowish clay that is virtually useless for sustained agriculture. For decades, modern agronomists believed it was physically impossible for large, dense human populations to have ever survived there. Yet, early European explorers in the 16th century reported seeing massive, sprawling agricultural civilizations along the riverbanks. Modern science dismissed these accounts as myths until researchers began conducting deep soil sampling in the late 20th century. What they found shattered the foundational principles of modern commercial agronomy. Buried deep beneath the jungle foliage, researchers discovered vast expanses of pitch-black, incredibly rich topsoil, sometimes reaching depths of over 6 feet. This soil, known historically as Amazonian dark earth, was not a natural geological formation. It was artificially manufactured by human hands over 1,000 years ago. In 2003, an extensive historical ecology study from the University of Florida archives proved that this soil was deliberately engineered by pre-Columbian tribes using a highly specific, low-cost organic powder. And the most terrifying part for the modern chemical industry was this realization. The soil had not received any chemical inputs for over 5 centuries, yet it remained exponentially more fertile than the most heavily fertilized commercial farmland in North America today. The organic carbon compound they introduced into the dirt created a permanent, self-sustaining microbiological reactor that refused to degrade. It refused to let nutrients wash away, meaning it literally grew forever. This is the part where the numbers become uncomfortable. In the years following World War II, the industrialized world had a massive surplus of ammonium nitrate, the primary chemical used heavily in military manufacturing and wartime industrial applications. The corporations that manufactured these wartime chemicals needed a new market to survive peacetime. They realized that the same heavy industrial chemicals used to fuel global conflicts could be slightly modified and sold as synthetic plant food. This marked the birth of the modern commercial fertilizer industry. They aggressively lobbied agricultural universities to rewrite their curriculums, shifting the entire focus of global farming away from biological soil health and toward chemical dependency. But behind closed doors, they were actively monitoring the ancient, permanent solutions that threatened their new empire. A declassified internal report from the United States Department of Agriculture, originally drafted in 1982 and quietly released to the public archives in 2011, analyzed the long-term viability of indigenous soil amendments. The scientists who authored the report were astounded, documenting how the introduction of this specific carbon powder radically increased the cation exchange capacity of the soil. It acted like an immortal magnetic sponge. While synthetic fertilizers wash out of the soil and pollute the water table after a few heavy rains, forcing you to buy more, this $2 carbon matrix actively grabs on to passing water and loose nutrients, locking them in place until the plant roots demand them. The report acknowledged that if this method were adopted on a commercial or residential scale, the demand for synthetic nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium would plummet. It was a flawless system, and that is exactly why it was erased from the public consciousness. If you made it this far, you already know more about this than 99% of consumers. Subscribe and share this to protect this knowledge before the industry tries to erase it again. We are building a network of people who refuse to be financially exploited by the gatekeepers of basic survival. The mechanism of action behind this $2 powder is purely physical, not chemical, which is why it cannot be stopped and why plants never build a negative tolerance to it. A landmark study published in the Journal of Mitigation and Adaptation Strategies in 2006 detailed how this terrestrial sequestration works at a microscopic level. When viewed under an electron microscope, a single gram of this material contains thousands of interconnected microscopic tunnels and chambers. It looks exactly like a coral reef, and the total surface area inside a single handful of this powder is roughly equal to the size of a professional football field. When you mix this into your barren dirt, you are essentially building a permanent, indestructible housing complex for beneficial soil bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi. These are the microscopic workers that naturally break down organic matter and feed your plants for free. Synthetic chemicals completely wipe out these workers, but this powder protects them, breeds them, and gives them a fortress to survive droughts, floods, and temperature extremes. The practical application requires absolute precision. Stay with me because this is where most people completely destroy their gardens. Most people who stumble upon this ancient soil building technique do it completely wrong and ruin their soil acidity forever. Here is the single missing step that guarantees the result. If you simply take this raw material and mix it directly into your soil, it will actually stunt your plant growth for the first year. Because the carbon matrix is empty, it acts like a dry sponge, aggressively sucking up all the existing water and nutrients in the dirt, starving your plants in the short term. The secret protocol requires you to charge the battery before you put it in the device. You must inoculate the powder. You do this by soaking the material in a liquid nutrient bath for 14 days before it ever touches your garden. You can use steeped compost tea, liquefied organic waste, or nitrogen-rich animal byproducts. Microscopic chambers must be fully saturated with biological life before they enter the soil ecosystem. The substance we have been discussing, the foundation of the indestructible Amazonian dark earths, is pure carbonized organic biomass. Today, it is scientifically referred to as biochar. But do not let the modern terminology trick you into buying expensive, branded packages from boutique gardening stores. You do not need to buy it, as you can make an endless supply of it for pennies. Biochar is not ash. When you burn wood or organic agricultural waste in an open campfire, the oxygen freely consumes the material, turning it into white, powdery ash that washes away and provides zero long-term structural benefit to the soil. To create the immortal carbon lattice, you must perform pyrolysis. This means baking organic material at extremely high temperatures in an environment starved of oxygen. You can accomplish this in your own backyard for roughly $2 using a simple metal trench or a modified steel barrel. You dig a cone-shaped hole in the ground, layer your dry organic waste, and ignite it from the top down, not the bottom up. By burning it from the top, the fire consumes the oxygen before it can reach the wood underneath. As the heat radiates downward, the wood below does not burn to ash. It chemically decomposes, off-gassing its volatile compounds while leaving behind the pure crystalline carbon skeleton of the plant. Once the entire pile has turned glowing red, you abruptly stop the process by flooding the pit with water. The rapid cooling shatters the carbon into the microscopic, porous powder that the chemical conglomerates fear so deeply. Once you crush this material, inoculate it with biological waste, and turn it into your topsoil, the transformation is irreversible. You have permanently altered the hydrological and nutritional capacity of your land. You have stepped outside the engineered cycle of dependency. The garden industry will tell you this is too complicated, or that you need their proprietary, chemically balanced soils to ensure a proper harvest. They are lying to protect their bottom line. The historical record is written in the black dirt of the Amazon, a testament to human ingenuity that has outlasted empires and will outlast the chemical giants of today. You cannot patent charred organic matter, and what you cannot patent, you cannot build a billion-dollar industry on. Implement this protocol, reclaim your soil, and never pay a corporation for the right to grow your own food again.